everybody, and welcome back to part 3 of Breaking Through the Darkness, how to defeat depression, anxiety, and stress. So, well done for persevering and sticking with it. And hopefully you're finding it helpful. So just to give a little resume of where we've got to, the whole idea of this particular course is to help people to remember that there is an alternative to depression, anxiety, and stress, that it's not normal, it's not natural, and it is in one level, but not in another. It's an understandable reaction to what's going on in the world and what's going on in our life, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can defeat the depression, the anxiety, and the stress because the Brahma-Kumaris believe that the soul in its original state is full of peace and love and happiness. So happiness is the foundation, one of the foundational characteristics of each human being. This is why we want to be happy. This is why we love company. We love doing things which make us feel happy, because it's reinforcing our original happy nature. But as we've seen, over time, we've acquired lots of baggage. And you could say now, instead of being happy, most people are sad. There's something going on either in themselves or in the world which is having a negative impact and is taking away our happiness. So this is what we've been trying to do, really, is understand what's got in the way, what's stopping us from being happy. So we've been going on a journey, and on this journey, the first thing really we need is some understanding. What's going on? Why is it going on? What are the signs of anxiety and stress and depression? What impact does it have on our life? And how can we defeat it? So awareness is crucial to the whole thing. So in that first session, we were defining stress, anxiety, and depression. We were looking at the signs of it. And we were looking then at the impact that it's had on us in all sorts of different ways. And there are a couple of things in particular which I think are quite interesting. The fact that women tend to end up taking antidepressants more than men. So that raised a question or two. What is it about women that they end up getting so anxious or stressed or depressed that they need to take antidepressants? So that was one interesting observation. Another one is that men are more likely to commit suicide than women. And in fact, 3/4 of all suicides are by men. So again, with all these things, it's important to look at them objectively, question them, ask yourself, why? Why is it like this? Because when we have an open mind, when we start inquiring into things, then we can start looking for solutions. And this is very important. We want solutions. We don't want to be stuck with the problem. We don't want to be stuck in the darkness. We want to be able to break free, turn on the lights, the light of awareness. So understanding these things is very important. So having, got a general understanding in that first session, we then last week went on to looking at 2 of the 4 steps, because the book here, Breaking Through the Darkness, highlights a 4-step process which can help us to break through or break free from depression, anxiety, and stress. So last week we looked at the first 2 steps, and that first step is really about understanding the mind-body connection, understanding the impact that the body can have on our feelings, can have on our mood. And understanding that the fight and flight reaction, which leads to the fear inside, the adrenaline pumping through the system, the heart beating faster and things like that. So that stress reaction or fight and flight reaction is a crucial thing which we need to be aware of and we need to control. And again, we did look at some techniques for doing that. Deep, slow breathing, very, very important, diaphragm breathing. We looked at the fact that, if we eat healthily, that's going to make a big difference. So cooking, home cooking, rather than processed foods are very important. Avoiding the 4 white poisons, that's processed flour, rice, sugar, and salt, because they have a negative impact on the body and produce acid. And in particular, cancer cells thrive in acid. So we don't want that to happen. So we have to be very careful about our diets. We need to avoid eating meat if possible, especially red meat. It takes a lot longer to digest than vegetables. And again, the food can have antibiotics in it and things like that. The importance of drinking more, so 2 liters of water a day is recommended. The importance of sleeping better. And a lot of people don't sleep because they're anxious, worried, or depressed. So again, there are things we can do about that. So it's all about really taking control of our life, taking control of our minds, taking control of our body. And we talked about the 4 dimensions of renewal. So the physical side, we mentioned, the emotional side, the importance of having friends, people we can trust, people we can talk to, people we can socialize with. And quite often when we're stressed, anxious, or depressed, we cut ourselves off from people. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. You won't understand. And in doing that, we're actually making the situation worse rather than better. So it's understandable we may not want to talk to people, but actually it's a key thing. It's essential to be able to open up, express our feelings, and then through expressing the feelings we feel better, providing the person who is listening is being non-judgmental and empathetic and supportive. So very important then to connect with people. If we don't have any friends or that, then we can get out, we can join different activities, we can go to clubs, or even just sitting by yourself in a cafe, actually. That's something I've done quite a lot of in the past. At least you're in the presence of other people, even if you're not talking to anybody. And you can start looking at people, taking an interest in them. And that can, take your mind off your own problems. Because this is another key factor. We become, when we're in the darkness, as it were, we become self-obsessed. And it's all about me. Poor me, oh dear, what an awful life I've got, and nobody understands me, etc., etc. And of course, our world really shrinks down into virtually nothing. And then we feel lonely, isolated, alienated, and then the pressure builds up even more. So getting out, going for a walk, getting a dog if necessary. A dog can be a great relief and a solution to some people's stress or anxiety, because you've got something else to live for. So you've got an animal there that needs caring for, that wants to go for a walk, and it will take you with it, as long as you remember to put the lead on so it doesn't run away. So a dog can help. Anything to get out of the house, to get the energy going. So again, the gym, very important, or some form of exercise, just to rejuvenate the body, get the energy levels moving and flowing, so we're not stuck. Because quite often, depression in particular, it's a stuck, heavy, negative energy. It's like being held down by a huge weight. And, we want to break free from that. So we need to raise the energy levels. So we've got the social side, the emotional side, and then again, the spiritual side. And we're going to be talking more about that in a minute. So that was the first step, understanding that mind and body connection. And then the second step was thinking positively, understanding the mind, understanding what's going on in here. And our mind is very powerful, and we can use it, in a positive way or a negative way. We can use it to make our life wonderful, or we can use it to really put us down. And they often say that the mind is either our best friend or our worst enemy. So again, very important to look at what's going on in here. How am I talking to myself? Am I talking as a friend? Am I being kind to myself? Am I being gentle? Am I trying to understand myself? Am I accepting myself? Am I encouraging myself? Or am I constantly critical and judgmental, putting myself down, beating myself up, thinking I'm no good, I'll never succeed, thinking, I'm useless or worthless? All those different messages, which we can put or reinforce in our mind. And of course, they're going to trap us then. So, very important to, check on that. Very important to know the difference between positive thinking and negative thinking. So we looked at that. Positive thoughts bring benefit to myself and others. The negative thoughts drag me down. The criticism, the blame, all those different things that we do, all the different isms and things like that. So there's lots of things, in terms of our communication, which have a big impact. And ultimately the choice, as we were saying last week, was choosing between the glad way or the sad way. The empowering way, the uplifting way, the encouraging way, looking for solutions, being optimistic, having a positive mental attitude, or the opposite, negative attitude, being pessimistic, focusing on the problem and feeling a victim, hopeless and helpless. And these are choices. Once we have that awareness, once we have that knowledge that there is another way, then it's up to us to choose which path we want to go down. Are we going to react to things? are we going to respond? So, all this is very liberating, and it can make a really big difference. So again, we were looking at things like expectations, If you expect anything, it's a form of trying to control other people. And there's no one we can control except ourselves. So a lot of people get very stressed and anxious and depressed because their expectations aren't fulfilled. We're not getting the attention that we expect or want. We feel unhappy because life isn't treating us in the way we want it to. It shouldn't be like this. I should be able to do X, Y, or Z, and it's not fair, it's not right, etc., etc. So, so that we did all of that, and hopefully by the end of it, you had that some more knowledge, some more awareness that there are things that you can do to make things better. You can visualize yourself being happy. You can imagine what it's like to let go of all those stresses, all those strains that have been, pressing down on you. Affirmations, rather than repeating the same old rubbish inside, we change that and we start creating new messages to reinforce a new approach, new ideas about ourselves. I am okay, I am happy, I will succeed, there is light at the end of the tunnel. All those sorts of positive, life-affirming messages which really can make a difference. So I think that covers most of the last two sessions, and we'll move on now. So we've got steps 3 and 4, and step 3 is about being soul conscious. So I'll share the screen now because I've got some control over it. So step 3 is about becoming soul conscious. And this really is about understanding ourselves on a deeper level. Because we're very aware of ourselves as bodies, we're very aware of the effects that everything has on the body, and we see everything through the eyes of a body. And being soul conscious actually is really a call to remind ourselves that there's more to us than just the body. There is a being in the body. And there's a little quote here by Carl Jung: "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." And in a way, this is what this step is all about. It's about awakening ourselves, awakening our consciousness, going to a higher level of consciousness, going beyond the body. So consciousness is an awareness of internal and external existence. So, are we conscious or unconscious? Are we sleepwalking through life? Are we lost and confused, or are we awake and aware? If we are aware, what are we aware of? I may be really aware of all my aches and pains, aware of all my challenges in my life, I'm aware of all the suffering in the world and things like that. But is that going to make me happy? Is it going to help me to learn, to grow and change and understand? The answer is probably no. So, you know, the other thing is, where is our attention going? And there's a battle on out in the world there. Everyone is trying to grab our attention. Everybody is wanting us to look at their programs, look at their profiles, look at their images on social media. You know, we're absolutely swamped with people desperate to attract our attention. The news, you know, do we focus just on all the bad news, or do we look for good news? You know, if we're focusing on bad news all the time, that's going to make us feel miserable. So, very important to be aware, and be aware of more than the body. So it's a gift, awareness, and it's a unique ability of human beings, you know. And we are aware of the external existence, as I've just mentioned, but what's going on inside? Am I aware of my thoughts and feelings? Am I aware of my ability to create, imagine, self-question? I can travel through time. You know, I can revisit the past. I can live in the present. I can imagine the future. And I have the opportunity to look for meaning and purpose in my life. So awareness actually is a wonderful thing. And it's really the foundation for liberation. Liberation from stress, anxiety, and depression. It's like waking up. It's like the light turning on in the dark room. You know, when the light is on, when we found the switch of awareness, we can see everything in the room. We can avoid things that may be on the floor. We can see where the door is. We can turn the handle of the door, unlock it if necessary, and we can go out of that room and into something better, something different, something more exciting, more interesting, more liberating. So basically, there are 3 levels of awareness or consciousness. We've already talked about ordinary consciousness, which is body consciousness. Higher consciousness, where we're aware of ourselves as a soul or a spiritual being in a physical body. And then there's supraconsciousness, which is awareness of the divine, God, or the source, whatever you want to call that energy. And that is to do really with step 4, which connecting with the light, which we will be talking about later on. So you could say that the story of our life is the battle between these different types of consciousness, because they all have a different energy to them. They all have different consequences, or they affect our perception in different ways. So the key to a happier life really is the ability to recognize the state of my consciousness at any moment in time, and if necessary, shift it to a higher level. So it's a bit like driving a car. You know, you've got the gears on a car, haven't you? You can either stay in first gear or second gear, which is going to be quite limiting. You're not going to be able to go very fast. You're not going to feel very powerful. The car is going to be chugging along really because you haven't fulfilled its potential. You're just sort of going quite slowly and heavily. If you shift gear up to third gear or fourth gear, then suddenly, you know, the car is going faster and moving quicker, and, you know, you feel the energy of the car. And if you go into fifth gear, the right circumstances, whoosh, you're off. So that car driving analogy is quite good, because there are times when we have to shift the gear, come down as well as go up. And once we get to learn these different levels of consciousness and the important part they play in our life, then we can shift accordingly, from one to the other as necessary. So the soul consciousness really is about recognizing we're spiritual beings having a human experience rather than the other way around. And we know that the soul is the life force of the body. So a body without a soul is inert. So a good example I like to use is a patient having an operation. They're going into the operating theatre, and the surgeon says to the nurse, "Bring in the patient." If the patient should, if the operation should go wrong, or if the surgeon is unable to save the person and they die, what does the surgeon say? The surgeon says, "Take out the body." So you go into the operating theatre as a patient, go out as a body. So what's happened in between? So let's ask, what's happened? I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. And maybe somebody would like to tell me what's happened if you go in as a patient and then you come out as a body. Would someone like to put in the chat there what has happened? What's different? Right there. So somebody has given us an answer. Consciousness has left. And I've got another answer there. The power has left the body. That's right. Yeah, so in other words, yeah, the life force or the soul, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, has left the body. And the body then is inert. So I think this is a very important point to remember, actually, because sometimes, still a lot of people around who say, oh, there's no such thing as a soul, we're just a brain in a body, and it's the brain that's died. But actually, the brain is just part of the body, and the soul is the operator of the computer, the operator of the laptop of our life, of the body, if you like. So that's a very important point to remember. And I've seen, like, in my, when my mother left the body, and I went to see the body, my reaction was immediately, that's not my mother. Yes. So recognizing the soul then is the life force of the body. It's eternal, because all energy actually is eternal. It can't be destroyed. And the Brahma Kumaris have the understanding that the soul is a tiny point of consciousness, and originally was pure positive energy, full of peace and love and happiness. And again, I think that's important to remember, because quite often in the West, we tend to be affected by the religious idea that the soul is born in a state of sin. And actually, human nature is innately bad and needs controlling and suppressing. And that has a damaging effect. And it can be actually the root cause of a lot of stress and depression. It's a spiritual depression, really. I'm no good. So understanding, and logically it makes sense, the soul in its original state is a powerful, positive, peaceful, loving, and happy energy. That's who we really are. So this is very important when it comes to looking at ourselves or in terms of being stressed or depressed. If I say I am depressed, I'm identifying with that mood, with that feeling. I'm forgetting who I really am, and I'm getting stuck. I'm identifying with a state of negativity. Once I realize I'm a soul, I'm able to take a step back. So I'm a soul who is experiencing depressive feelings at the moment. Now, that's two important statements there. I'm experiencing something, I'm not denying it. At the moment, I'm an eternal being. I can't be depressed forever. I may be depressed at this moment in time, but sooner or later it's going to shift. Because sooner or later, I may leave the body, and once I'm out of the body, all that pressure that I'm under at the moment will cease to exist, and I'll just be a point of conscious energy. So it's quite useful to think of ourselves as visitors or guests or travelers on the earth, because that again encourages us to be more detached. And in a way, you could say the earth is like a PlayStation on which we come and we go. And it's an opportunity then to express ourselves, to experience, to create. So it's a wonderful opportunity when we come into a body, you know, we then discover we've got arms and legs and a tongue and, you know, or we've got a brain we can use, and we can start to use the body as an instrument to help us to navigate our way through life and to create a good life for myself. Yeah, so maybe at this stage then I'll just ask you this question. Who am I? And to help us in that, I'd like you to write down, imagine that you're writing to a pen pal, or you're writing a Facebook page, or you know, you're doing your LinkedIn or whatever form of social media you're using. And I want you to write down 16 points about yourself. 16 things that describe you. And you've got a minute to come up with 16 things about yourself. Can be anything you like. Ten seconds left to finish off your list. Okay, so now stop. Hands up if you managed to write down 16 points about yourself. So one person has, okay. All right, 6 or 16? Right. Okay, now what I'm going to ask you to do, so 15, oh, very good. Oh, no, right. 7, no, 12. Very good. Okay. Now, I want you to cross off anything to do with your body. So this would be your race, your age, your gender, anything to do with your appearance, like wearing glasses or having black hair or anything like that. Any disabilities you might have, all that connected with the body, cross off those things. Then cross off anything to do with your roles and relationships. So maybe your job or the fact that you're a parent or a child of someone or other. And then all your hobbies and your interests. Cross off all the things you like to do, all the things you're interested in. And then when you've done that, cross off anything to do with your possessions, you know, like your dog or cat or your big house or the flat that you live in or your car. Then anything to do with your belief system, so your religion or your politics. And then when you've done that, cross off any negative points about yourself, like I'm tired or grumpy or mean or whatever else. Okay, so can you just put in the chat box now how many things you've got left on your list? Has it been reduced at all? Ah, very good. So you've got lots left. Okay, that's good then. So would you like to type in 2 or say 3 of the things left on your list? Each of you type in 3 things on your list that's left. So one person here has typed in loving, happy and content. Intelligent, empathetic. Okay, wounded warrior. The wounded bit would be on the negative side. So you'd have to, you could put something else instead rather than the wounded warrior. I think we're all wounded. Resourceful, there we go, great. So well done, because you both had lots left on your list. A lot of people, when I do this exercise with them, often they have nothing left. And they say, well, why have you crossed all these things off? So the things we crossed off are all external things. The things which can all change. Because in this day and age, you can change your gender, for example. You can change your belief systems, your religion. 1 minute you could be married, the next minute divorced. So in 1 minute you could be in a nice house, the next minute you could be in a small flat. So all those things change. What you've all got left, you both have left on your list, are qualities, positive qualities. So the next question is, where are these positive qualities coming from? Would you like to put it in the chat box? Where are they coming from? Are they coming from your brain? Are they something you've learned from your family? Right, there we go. So, yes, so someone has said from the soul, and then someone else has said, hard to say, feels natural. Okay, yes. Well, actually, they are coming from the soul. They're coming from your consciousness. And I love this exercise because it shows the extent to which we are aware. You know, are we aware of just our external roles and relationships, or are we turning our awareness inside? Are we aware of all the qualities that we have? Now, if you've got lots of good qualities, lots of inner resources, you can nurture those resources, you can use those resources, and they're going to help. Yeah. So that exercise we've just done is quite life-changing for some people because they have been going around with an external awareness, not realizing who they really are. And once you get it, your whole perception changes and you become open up. So there's an expression for it, opening the third eye. And I like this expression very much. It comes from India, where they talk about, you know, the Hindu tradition. You've got two physical eyes to see the physical world, and then you have a third eye, you know, which is the spiritual eye. And that eye, when it opens, changes your consciousness, changes your awareness, changes the way you see the world, and it opens up a whole new world. And, you know, through that, for example, we're able to start thinking in terms of karma, the law of karma. It opens us up to other spiritual laws, you know, like the law of entropy, things going from new to old and then back again. It opens up us to the possibility of connecting with the divine. And it connects us with all those inner qualities which we can then use for ourselves, but also for other people. And then, of course, yeah, you know, we can start seeing life as a drama or as a play in which we're all actors. So lots of good things happen to us when we open our third eye. And this is crucial for breaking through the darkness. We'll never break through all the darkness until that third eye is open. So having opened it, you know, we then really need to think about what happens next, you know, because we've got to keep it open. It's very easy for that third eye to close because there are so many distractions out there, so many demands on us out there that, you know, we can easily get lost again in a world of competing demands and needs and confusion. So really, if we want to nurture this inner being, we need to become introverted. And that means turning our attention within. And there's a very nice image we have of a tortoise. You know, a tortoise, it has its arms and the legs and its head is outside. You know, when it wants to eat or move, it's got to look around and find a lettuce or something to eat. But once it's satisfied itself on that physical level, it then withdraws inside. And that's something that we need to learn to do. So there's a nice expression called the cave of introversion, where we switch off our attention to the outside world, close down our senses so we're not being distracted, turn our attention within. We could do this now, actually. Just turn your attention within, maybe close your eyes so you can't see me, and just feel there's a certain sense of stillness, isn't there? A certain sense of peace. certain sense of space. We're in a different place. We feel different. We're relaxed. We're calm. We're peaceful. And we're in the moment. We're not thinking about the past. We're not projecting into the future. We're just here and now. And then when we choose, we can come out of the cave. We can come back into the world. So we open our eyes. But just by going in, we've actually started a process of recharging and renewing ourselves. Because the soul, it wants to be positive, it wants to be happy, and giving it a bit of peace just enables a sense of well-being to develop. And also then, of course, once we get into that space, we can start reflecting, contemplating. We can tune into our intuition. We can ask ourselves questions. Why am I feeling like this? What do I need to do to make things better? And then that higher self, that higher consciousness that knows us better than we know ourselves, will then start feeding us some thoughts, feeding us some insights, feeding us some food to make things better. And yes, we need to listen to that voice. And then, of course, act on that voice. So creating that space, that time, just to be, turning within, focusing on being rather than doing. So not thinking that, oh, I've got so many things to do, but no, stop. Just be in that moment. And then this is the foundation then for breaking through the darkness. And to help us, there's a mantra which is very powerful, very ancient, and always works if we use it in the right way, with feeling and meaning, and that is Om Shanti. Om is really the original ancient sound, the most sacred sound. Om. So just say to yourself, Om. And let it reverberate through your mind and your body. Om. And that Om means soul. It's a reminder of who I am. And it carries a certain energy, a certain vibration, which takes us beyond. And then if we add to that the Shanti, Shanti is a Hindi word for peace. I am a peaceful soul. And we use that when we start feeling stressed or depressed, Rather than saying, I am stressed, I am depressed, we say, Om Shanti. I am a peaceful soul. And then we start to recognize and value our own qualities and our own powers. And then there's a shift in consciousness which happens where instead of taking all the time, taking attention from people, taking all sorts of different things, we start to want to give. Because the original state of the soul is love, and love just wants to give. Light just wants to shine. You know, the sun doesn't just shine on one flower or one person. The sun shines on everyone. And in the same way, really, as a soul, when we're full of light, we just shine and we express that in lots of different ways. We want to start giving, we want to start caring, we want to start looking after not only ourselves, but other people. And then, of course, once you start giving, the law of karma comes in and you will start receiving automatically. One act of kindness from you will lead to acts of kindness returning to you. So we really shift away completely from that sort of body conscious, miserable, depressed state or way of being. So again, this is where meditation comes in, because meditation then is a way of focusing on the good inside us and doing it on a regular basis. Very important. Every day, starting the day in a positive way, starting the day in a soul conscious way, and feeding the soul. Just like the body needs feeding, the soul needs feeding. It needs feeding with uplifting knowledge. It needs uplifting with positive thoughts, with meaningful words. And then again, really understanding our purpose. What are we here for? What's it really all about? So we go into a totally different space. And we get answers. And when we put the answers into practice, we start to feel happy again, more relaxed. We don't get so upset about things. So the soul consciousness then is crucial really to the whole thing. And if there's anybody, you know, watching this recording, if you haven't done the Raj Yoga meditation course, then, you know, I would recommend that you do it, because it does change your awareness. It does change the way you think about yourself, other people, and the world. And that's a crucial bit, actually. Other people, if I'm a soul, so are other people. Everybody is a soul. Everybody has a foundation of peace and love and happiness. And if they're not in that state, if they're being cruel and nasty and aggressive and violent, it's because they're suffering. It's because they've moved away from their true self. And when we move away from our true self, it's like putting your hand in a fire. It hurts. And there's a saying, hurt people hurt. So the people who are hurting other people, they are in darkness. They are suffering. And then they're projecting their own suffering onto other people. as a way of releasing or relieving their own feelings. And again, that ties in with what we were talking about, I think, in the first session there, about all those adverse experiences which people have had. Because once you get into soul consciousness, you can then start understanding things better. You can start practicing compassion. You can start practicing forgiveness. You can start practicing acceptance. There's so many inner resources or tools which you can use to improve yourself and improve your relationships with other people. And you become like, we have an expression, a lighthouse and a mighthouse, where you become strong inside and you're radiating out light, and you're really, like a lighthouse, shows people the way, isn't it? And people actually start to respond to you in a different way, because you're thinking about them differently, seeing them differently, and actually your whole world suddenly blossoms. So this third lesson, actually, or third step, is very important. So to summarize, like you say, the opening of third eye can be life-saving and life-changing to somebody who is experiencing depression, anxiety, or stress, because it helps us to understand some of the roots of our darkness and offers empowering and enlightening ways to shift into a happier way of living and being. Yes, because quite often people talk about the dark night of the soul, don't they? When you're disconnected, when you don't know where you're going, what you're doing, when you feel life is empty and meaningless, and when you think this is the only life you've got, and once you're dead, that again is quite a stressful thought, isn't it? And this is probably why more older people take antidepressants than anyone else, because they're coming towards the end of their life and they've got no understanding or awareness of what's going to happen next. It's the big D, the big T, the big taboo. Where am I going? What's going to happen? Is this all there is to life? And then regrets start coming up from the past. All the things you've tried to push aside suddenly coming before you. And how do you deal with them? And the answer is, if you look at it from a soul perspective, you're going to be able to deal with it much more effectively. And then the next step will help enormously as well. And the next step and the final step is connecting with the light. So this again, very, very important. So there's a quote here from Julian of Norwich, who was a nun. And truth sees God, and wisdom contemplates God. And from these two comes a third, a holy and wonderful delight in God, who is love. Excuse me. So again, lots of people will be skeptical about superconsciousness. Is there a God? It's just a figment of the imagination, scientists will say. It's just an emotional prop to help you to get through life. And each of us actually has to come to our own conclusions on this. We have to experience it ourselves. We have to search for it ourselves. And there is that saying, the teacher appears when we're ready, the door opens when we're ready. But if you're not ready for it, if you're not looking for it, then you're not going to find it. And in my own case, I did a lot of searching When I was stressed and depressed, I'd already given up Catholicism many years before. I tried different things, therapies and all that, and none of them had really worked. So then I started going back to different types of religion, like the Buddhists and the Quakers and things like that, trying to find the answers for me. And really, we've all got to find our own answers, but we will if we look for them. So Brahmakumaris have a very clear understanding of who God is, a very simple understanding on one level, that God is a soul just like you're a soul and I'm a soul. So in other words, full of peace and love and wisdom and power. And the main difference between us is the fact that the Supreme Soul does not come onto the earth and into a body of its own and get trapped in all the things that we do. That is the big difference. So that soul remains outside of this world, outside of all the things that are happening, and then is able to, when we connect, able to give us power, give us love, give us all the things that we need to help us face and overcome the challenges in our life. So once we get into the awareness of being a soul, we're then able to consider the Supreme Soul to be like a spiritual parent, a being beyond duality, because the soul doesn't have a body. It's neither male nor female. It has a mixture of all energies, all the positive, loving energies. And this, again, was an eye-opener for me, because I was brought up to think of God as a vengeful, wrathful being who will send sinners to hell forevermore. How can you love somebody who's going to do that? You know, put a foot wrong and you're out, condemned forever to a life of suffering. So it's good to discover that God is pure love, unlimited love, and cannot possibly send anybody to hell forever. We may be in hell, but it's a hell of our own creation. It's not created by God. And God is the one who wants to actually change our consciousness and enable us to return to a state of peace, love, and happiness. So, you know, it's very important to open your mind to the possibilities. So if you're, you know, one of these rational, scientific, logical types, you might want to question the whole thing, say it's impossible. I just believe in the sciences. Well, the sciences only deal with the physical side of the world, the physical laws, the things that you can see and hear and touch, not the invisible things, which is what spirituality handles or deals with. So, yeah, so you can imagine, for example, what would your life be like if such a being did exist? So just spend a moment reflecting on what your life would be like if there was a being that you could connect with, who would empower you, help you, support you to deal with things in a better way. So just reflect on that, maybe imagine it. A spiritual source or resource outside of this physical world. Just imagine tapping into it. A source of energy that could top up your energy, recharge you, revitalize you, renew you. And just observe the difference it makes when you open your mind and you do try to connect with this source, this valuable spiritual resource. So really, it's all about aligning with the higher energy, with those vibrations. We go into the unlimited, our consciousness expands, and so we go beyond depression, anxiety, and stress. So again, a good thing to do is to remember to surrender. And this is based on my own understanding experience. There's a phrase, God helps those who help themselves. And in other words, God respects us completely. We've got free will. We've got choice. It's up to us to decide what we're going to do with that. We can decide to ignore God, deny God, or become an atheist. Nothing wrong with that. Be whoever you want to be. But, you know, if you're wanting help, if you're wanting to let go of the past, for example, then you can surrender that to God. And that means being honest with yourself, taking responsibility, acknowledging your feelings about the past or about people in your life, and deciding, I want to feel better. I want to live in a different way. And then offering that up, saying, in a way, help. You know, you're there to help. What am I going to do? So we can do this in meditation. And I've had a lot of help through doing this. So you can do it in a detached and loving way in meditation. If you want to, you can write a letter. That's a great way. Write a letter to God, you know, expressing how you're feeling. I'm so miserable and depressed, and whatever it might be. I'm really stressed about X, Y, or Z. And then, what can I do? What should I do? And then you do this in meditation. You spend a minute or two in silence. And then, with paper and pen there, you write down the answers which are coming to you with your non-writing hand. So if you're right-handed, you do it with the left hand, and vice versa. And this stops you from analyzing what's coming through. So you write down the answer. So, you know, I might have, in the past, I've had a message like, you know, dear John, you know, you are X, Y, or Z, very powerful, positive. You need to do X, Y, or Z. Everything will be all right, whatever. And so you'll get lots of interesting messages. That was somebody at my door, which we will ignore. And then again, so there's that side to it. Again, when we reconnect, we can recharge. And in the book, there's a lovely quote from a book called The Man Who Loved Angels by Anthony Strano, who had a very close connection with God. And for him, grace is the magic ingredient that transforms everything. Grace is God's power. It's non-human. Although received through human thought, It moves the mind and the heart towards higher wisdom and love. So I recommend that book to you, The Man Who Loved Angels by Anthony Strano, and that will help you quite a lot. And then, excuse me, when we start to feel better, when we realize we are beings of light and love, we will naturally want to shift from me, poor me, to we. We want to change how we see things, and we want to become the change that we want to see in the world. So I become an example, I become a role model, and other people then will say, what are you doing? How come you're no longer depressed or stressed? What's your secret? And then we become a beacon of hope for others. So there's a lot actually which does happen through coming into the light, the full light of the divine. Yes, actually, that's a summary, but I feel as if I haven't done the divine sufficient justice there. Because, once we open up to the divine, especially if you were to do the course with Brahma Kumaris, and especially if you were to listen to some of the teachings which the founder channeled from the divine, you'd see there's a whole series of brilliant insights, brilliant points of knowledge about the way we think and what we need to do, which really are quite transformative. So one of the things is that life is a cycle, and that we go from new to old, and then we go back again. And this becomes like a cycle. So most depressed people, I would say, are old souls. They've been around quite a long time. And they know deep inside they've been happier than they are now. They've been more loving, more positive. And that pain of realizing you're nowhere near your full potential, you're nowhere near how you used to be, becomes a very powerful incentive to actually change, to actually search, to actually find the answers, to reconnect and recharge. And it really does, make a huge difference, because then I can understand what's going on. And we can apply this not only to ourselves, but to everyone else. Everyone around us is coming down from a higher level, coming into body consciousness. And sooner or later, they're all going to hit rock bottom. And sooner or later, they're going to want to start looking for deeper answers, better answers, more unlimited answers, which actually take us out of the misery of being stuck in a material world. And this is where the liberation comes in. And in particular, the Brahma Kumaris, we do believe in reincarnation. So if you're an old soul, it means you've been on this earth for quite a long time. You've had numerous previous births. And quite often we are actually, reacting to some of those births. We're carrying a burden from the past which needs releasing. And we're also coming across people that we have had karmic bondage with in the past, and they're coming before us now so that we can resolve the karma and we can become one again. We can become happy again and peaceful again. So in a way, we're stuck in like a big karmic machine. And it's a world which is like a spiritual gymnasium. There are challenges in it, and those challenges are there to help us to develop our inner power and our inner strength. Because if we didn't have challenges, how would we develop those powers and those strengths? And there's a whole battle going on in our consciousness between the old and the new, between good and evil, between being in the light and the dark. And it's a special time in the history of the world when we're going to get rid of all the darkness, get rid of all the negativity, and we're all going to return to a state of love and peace and happiness. And I'm going to stop sharing now. Hope you're still there. I haven't driven you away. And yeah, we're going to be in a much better state. So that connecting with the light becomes possible when we recognize that we too are beings of light. We too are love. And then we realign, we reconnect, we re-express all that positivity, all that love. We recharge, rekindle, all those words, recreate, then we transmit. So on one level, you can see it's all about energy. It's all about raising our energy from a low, negative, heavy energy to a powerful, positive, uplifting energy. And it's about, it's returning to a state of peace and love and happiness. And that, again, to me, makes a lot of sense and liberates us. And even when we leave the body, there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to fear, because again, through the law of karma, all the good things we've done will go with us and support us on the next stage of our journey. Okay, so now we've come to the end of the course, and I hope you found it beneficial. I have to say it's a summary in a way of the book, because it would take too long to go through everything in the book online. But so this gives you a taste, the course gives you a taste of what's in the book. So you've received the essence of it, and hopefully you found it helpful. Now, really, it's all based on the different courses which the Brahma Kumaris offer, especially the Raj Yoga meditation course. So if anybody is interested in doing that, I would strongly recommend it, because it is life-changing. It really opens your eyes in all sorts of ways. For those of you who want, you can get a copy of the PowerPoint, and Catherine will tell you a bit more about that in a minute. She's the coordinator for Ireland and is based in Dublin, so she'll say a little bit about that. So I'd like to thank you for listening, thank you for taking part, and I'm going to just read out one of the commentaries in the book. At the back of the book, there's about 20 different commentaries, which are all designed to help you to raise your spirits, increase your wisdom and your insight into life, and in particular, the things which make us feel unhappy. And obviously, hopefully this course will have given you some tools and insights to return to your original happiness, because that's what it's all about. We're meant to be happy, not sad, not angry, not miserable, not depressed. And actually, that reminds me, if you were to do the course, you'll find out that all the unhappiness that we experience in the world, not only in ourselves, but all around us, is due to a form of spiritual algae. And that's cinnamon for the 5 spiritual diseases which can attack the soul. So I think it's worth remembering these. So there's the A for anger, L for lust, G for greed, A for attachment, and E for ego. And so algae And if you were to think about those in some depth, you'd realize that each one causes a lot of unhappiness. If we really follow that path, like our ego, or it's all about me, or the attachment, being attached to people, to things, not having that space to just be. Because if we're attached to anything, it means we're going to be afraid of losing it. Likewise with the greed, if we don't live a simple life, and if we're into, acquiring lots of things, we'll never be happy, because there's no end to the amount of things we could consume, we could buy, could use. So we'll finish then with this commentary. It's called I Open My Third Eye. So sit back, relax, and just listen to the words and allow them to percolate inside you. Get rid of that light in my eye. Okay. So here we go. Beneath the debris of my life, I know I am a good soul. I have mercy on myself. I connect with my goodness. I am loving and lovable. I am kind and caring. I am unique and valuable. I have something special to give to the world. The darkness of ignorance disappears. There is light at the end of the tunnel. The bottomless pit of despair has a ladder I can climb. Dark clouds move away to reveal the sun, which is always there. I connect with the light. I bathe in the light. I become the light. I am light. All is well in my world. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Breaking through the darkness. What an amazing 3 weeks we've had with you, John. On behalf of Brahma Kumaris Dublin Centre, not forgetting Krishna and Ram and everyone else who's involved with the centre, a heartfelt thank you for these most beneficial and amazing sessions, where you have truly given us your all in every sense of the word. Thank you for sharing your journey, your experiences and professionalism from the heart with so much honesty and integrity. And we hope to see you back here very, very soon. I know you love Ireland, and when you've been here before, you've toured around, and just I hope you get some dancing in when you come next time. Manoj, BKI offers you our sincere thanks as well for all you do, not only regarding these sessions, but in the background, all the incognito hats you wear so incognitely. And now, where would these sessions be without our wonderful students, attendees? Truly wonderful having such engaging participants over the 3 sessions of Breaking Through the Darkness. Your contributions enrich the sessions immensely. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you and whoever reads, hears, listens to this message to visit BKI and get a personal feel for the space. I would invite you to visit the BKI website. You can either email us or ring us, make an appointment for a meditation session, the Raj Yoga course, which is one of our main courses. Any talks we have on, drop-in meditation, or just come in for a chat and a cup of tea and some of our homemade toli that's made with so much love. We endeavour to support you in whatever way we can. So you're most welcome. Find your way to our door, as they would say. Thank you. It was a wonderful experience, and personally, on a personal note, I've tremendously enjoyed it and benefited so much as well. Thank you all, and we look forward to hearing or seeing you in some capacity in the future, and maybe in the not too distant future. Brahma Kumaris' doors is always open, and we've been in Dublin for 40 years, and we hope that you will come and take some benefit from it. Om Shanti. Have a lovely evening and look forward to seeing you at some point. Om Shanti.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, John. You've done a stellar job, a beautiful job. And we'll hope to see you soon in Ireland.
Yes, it would be nice. I'd like that.
Yes, yeah, indeed. That would be lovely to have you back in person. So Om Shanti to everyone, and we shall see you soon.
Bye. Take care.
And thank you, John. Om Shanti. Bye.
Om Shanti. Bye-bye.